What's going on, engineer team? This is video 3 of 10 in my Python Basics video series. In this video, we're talking all about basic syntax. Just like all videos in this series, this level is beginner. If you haven't already done so, go ahead and create a new file. I called mine basics.py, and I'll use that file to write everything that we're going to do here. The first thing we'll talk about is indentation. At some point, you're going to have to group your code into blocks. This happens with, say, the if statement, loops, functions, things like that. In other languages, you would use a curly brace to denote, where that block starts and ends. But in Python, there's no such thing as braces. So for indentation, you have to use spaces or tabs or whatever you want. So we'll write a simple if statement, just do if true. And then when you write stuff in this block, you have to indent it out. Now you can indent it as much as you want as long as all the indentation for one block is the same. So I could do hello here as long as, I have one tab here, but it could very well be two tabs as long as my second output is also, the same as the first. Next thing we'll talk about is commenting. Commenting is pretty simple. You have single line comments and multi-line comments. All comments are just things you can put in your code that aren't actually executed by Python. It'll just be stripped out when the program runs. So for a single line comment, you just use a pound sign and you just write your comment. So I'll write single line comment. If you want to do a multi-line comment, what you'll do is you'll use triple quotes. So 1, 2, 3, line 1, line 2, line 3, whatever. And then you end it with triple quotes. Now, triple quotes are also for multi-line strings, but we'll talk about that later. Next thing we'll talk about is variables. Variables are a thing used to hold data. You can assign values to variables. You can then change those values, among other things. So a simple variable, to do a variable, you simply write the variable name. So in this case, I'll do name. And then to assign something to that variable, use an equal sign. And then after the equal sign, you can put the value that you want to store in that variable. So I'll do name equals engineer man. Now engineer man is a string. We'll talk about that in a future video. But you can assign other things to it too. Like number 1, you can set to 5. Number 2, you can set to, say, 8. Now when you assign variables, you can also assign variables the value of other variables. So you could do num3 equals num1. You could also even do expressions. So like num4 equals num1 plus num2. Next is multi-line statements, or rather multiple statements on a single line. For instance, in this case, say you want to do num1 and num2 on the same line. All you would do is you would use a semicolon, which would tell the Python interpreter that that's it for num1 equals 5, and you could simply do num2 equals 8. That's perfectly valid. Next is continuance. Continuance is when you want to break down a long line into multiple lines. So imagine if you had something like, I'm just going to do a variable called long name, and then I'll put something else. If I wanted to put this on 2 lines, or even 3 lines, I could bring that down here. I could bring that down here. However, what I'd have to add is backslashes. Now, that tells the Python interpreter when it sees a backslash, it basically just goes to the next line and continues reading. And finally, printing. So printing is pretty simple. You just use the print keyword. So you would do print, and then you can provide it whatever you want, a variable or a string or integer, whatever you want. So we'll just do print hello world. Now when you do this, Python will automatically add a new line after that. If you want to avoid that, you can put a comma at the end. And we're done. That's basic Python syntax. Comment down below if you have any questions or requests. I read every single comment and I respond to almost every single comment. Subscribe if you want notifications for new videos, and hit the like button if you thought the video deserved it. See you on video 4.